What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a great wide receiver quiz on when to use certain press releases, okay? So how we're going to work this thing is going to be more like a multiple choice quiz, I would say, because there's a million different releases you can use. But I'm going to show you 3 examples of some press releases, and then I'm going to show you 3 different pre-snap looks that are different from the examples I show, and we're going to give you some time to decide if you want to use X, Y, or Z release, okay? So I hope this video helps you guys out. If you guys have any kind of feedback or any other content you'd like to see next, don't hesitate to leave that in the comment section below. So first 3 releases. So the number one release we're going to be focused on today also. So this is the first one. We got 2 more, is a wide step release. So a wide step release is where you step with your back foot, you step wide. It's a fake to the outside to take this inside release. So let's watch it full speed. So that's a wide step right there. I'll play that one more time for everybody. Stepping with the back leg, stepping wide, and then he takes this inside release. So now, next release we're going to be talking about here is going to be a slide release. Now, the slide release does not have to be a slide and a crossover. It could be a slide and go. It could be a slide out then in. It could be a slide in then out, okay? But a slide release. So a slide release is where you slide on a 45-degree angle, and you're trying to work this DB off the platform or get him to sit to the inside. But it's a change of tempo, and it's a little bit more hesitant of a release. You would want to use this in a later situation on a route, like if you're on a play. If you're like a third read receiver, if it's RPO, play action, that's when you would want to use this slide release. So that's the slide release. Now, last release is going to be a split release. Exactly how it sounds. Split release is just another form of a move to freeze a DB. You could do it. It's a two-way go type release. So your up foot, so the foot that's up goes out, the back foot comes even with the front foot. So essentially you are just splitting your feet. Both feet are landing at the same time, and you're trying to freeze this DB, okay? So he goes ahead and splits, and then you see how he takes just the inside release right away and freezes that DB, okay? So now, those are the 3 releases that we can choose from. So you have a wide step, you have a slide release, and then you have a split release. So now we're going to show 3 specific pre-snap looks. Then you guys can kind of choose which release to go with, okay? So now, first pre-snap look is going to be this right here. So we have this DB who's lined up outside shade, and he has to run a deep post. He has to run a deep post. So think about the releases that we have. So we have the split release, we have the slide release, and then we have the wide step release. So if you guys aren't familiar with our quiz style videos, you guys can go ahead and pause the video, think about what you would do, and then you guys can press play and we'll break this thing down. So you guys can go ahead and pause the video. What release would you choose? Wide step, split release, or slide release? And now we're going to break this thing down. So if you guys said wide step release because he's lined up a little bit outside shade, that would be correct. I know it's kind of tough to see right here, but I've had a different angle of this clip, and he's lined up a little bit outside shade. I know it looks like he's more head up, but he's outside shade. And let's think of it like he is. Maybe it's even more so obvious that he is outside shade. What release would you use if you have to run a post? If you said wide step release, you would be correct. Now, the reason why the split release would not work right here. So if you said wide step, where you just step with this back foot, you step wide, you threaten him vertical, try to get him to move off the platform outside so I could take the post, you'd be correct. Now, the reason why we wouldn't say split release is because there's too much of a gap. There's way too much of a gap between you guys. So if you do that split release, you got 2 to 3 yards of space between him. Even if you get him to jump outside or hesitate, he still has space to recover. And the reason why I wouldn't say slide release is because if you slid and you have to go run a deep post now, that takes too long. It's too long of a developing of a release for you to run a first read route like a deep post. Nobody throws a deep post late. Nobody goes from 1 to 2. Oh, there's the deep post. Let's throw it. It's usually that's the first read that we're trying to isolate and take a shot downfield. So the wide step would have been correct. Now let's play this thing full speed. So great job using that wide step to get him to work out wide, able to break back inside and restack on this post. So now, second clip right here we're going to show. But before we get into this clip, fellas, and we talk about the route, I want to talk to you guys about a great opportunity we are offering on our site this off season. We are going to be traveling to 6 more different states for 2-day-long quarterback and wide receiver training camps. So we're going to be coming out to Atlanta, Georgia, April 9th and 10th. That is our next camp. Then we're coming out to Columbus, Ohio, Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, and Los Angeles, California. So you get the opportunity to work with us for 2 whole days, fellas. So if you want some more information, check out that very first link in the description below. Each camp, it's a long camp. We got 4 hours each day of positional work. We're limiting the spots to only 10 to 12 guys per position group, per age group. So we just got back from a camp out in New Jersey, and it was a ton of fun because a lot of guys have never been experienced in that kind of a camp atmosphere before. Where we actually stop things, we actually explain to you what you're doing wrong, and actually coach you up. It's not about just getting you out there and just running a ton of drills. It's about getting you out there and actually teaching you and having you learn new skills and when to actually and how to actually apply things. So if that sounds like something that could benefit you and you guys are close to one of these 6 locations or would like to travel out, check out that very first link in the description below, fellas. We'd absolutely love to have you to one of our camps. Let's get back to this video. So now, next clip here. So think about the releases that we have. So we got inside shade coverage, 2 to 3 off, right? 2 to 3 off. And you have to run a goal line fade. Okay, goal line fade. So what release would you choose? Would you choose a wide step? Would you choose a slide release? Or would you choose a split release? So you guys can go ahead, pause the video. And now we're going to break this thing down. Okay, so now, if I have a fade route, goal line fade, right? Again, wide step release, not going to work because a wide step release is where you would step wide and then take the inside, right? So I'm not going to step wide and take the inside release on a goal line fade. That doesn't make any sense, right? Hell, even if it was a slant, you wouldn't want to use a wide step release right here because A, there's too much space between the two of you guys and he's inside shade. The last clip, he was outside shade. So if you step wide, you threaten his leverage. He gets to widen. That opens up the inside. This one, you step wide and he's inside shade like so, and you try to force the slant, you're going to run right into him. So that's why we wouldn't do that. Now, a split release, that could work. But again, if you split and there's 2 to 3 yards of separation between you guys, it's very tough because even if we get him to hesitate inside, he could recover. So what would you use? You'd use a slide release, right? So that's what this receiver does. He slides to the outside, gets that DB to sit to the inside, and then takes off to the fade. So why would you decide to use that? Let's watch the thing full speed. So he slides outside, gives a little move inside, and then breaks back up. Because DBs are taught, fellas, that anytime that they see a slide out here, that sells what? That can sell a slant, right? That sells that, okay, if you see him slide, expect the slant. Expect that he's going to run a slant because everybody loves to slide, work the DB off the platform, and then run that slant back underneath. But if I have to run a goal line fade, I have to pair my routes together. On the goal line in the red zone, your fade should look like slants, and your slants should look like fades. So we slide to the outside here to make it look like that. He slides to the outside, gives that crossover, gives a fake inside. That's what gets the DB to hesitate, and that's why we'd want to use that slide because it makes it look like a slant. You can't do that with a wide step. You can't do that with a split release because those are 2 quicker releases, and the wide step wouldn't even be the right type of release on this. So we have to make sure that we are setting him up by his leverage, and we have to pair my routes together to get into his head. Let's watch the thing again full speed. So great decision to choose the slide release right here. That's what you guys would work if you were faced with that kind of coverage. And again, fellas, it is like a multiple choice thing, right? This is not the only dead set answer. You just have to understand that. It's not, hey, I'm only doing these 3 releases. That's it. Those are the only ones that'll ever work. There's a million releases you can use, fellas. Everybody asks me the question, hey, when should I use it? When do I do this? What route should this work on? There's no set answer. It all depends on the DB's leverage and the tools that you have in your tool belt that can make your routes look the same. Like that last clip we saw, it was a slide and then a move and took the outside release. Then I'm sure he has a move in his tool belt where he slides, takes the inside release and gives a 1-2 and runs a slant. So it's got to look the same. It has to build. There's no dead set answer, okay? But there is a dead set answer for each type of release against a leverage, okay? So now, last one here, he has to run a slant route, okay? So now he has to run a slant, but we have a head-up DB. Head up press. What is a release that we can use? So would we use a wide step? Would we use a split release? Or would we use a slide release? Okay, so you guys can go ahead and pause the video. And now we could go ahead and break it down. So if you guys said split release, you would be correct. Now, it was probably a given just because that's the one we haven't covered yet. And I really want to make sure that we cover the split release. But again, why wouldn't you use a wide step here? You wouldn't use a wide step because he's kind of in head-up press. So you take that wide step, but again, there's a little bit of a gap between the two of you guys. I think the wide step would be fine to do if he was outside shade, but I just don't like the wide step in this case because I have to run a slant. So I'd have to go wide step outside, get him to move, then restack over the top and then break on the slant. Now, the slide release might be cool, but he's not inside shade, so I could slide to the outside, and he might just sit right there. He might just shuffle with me, and because there's maybe a little bit of gap of space, who knows? He can make a play on it. So I like the split release right here. Okay, the reason why I like the split release is because he's head up press. He's clearly in close space. He's probably going to get physical and probably going to get hands. So that split release that this receiver does, it kind of freezes him and it allows him to avoid the hand contact and be able to restack and get up into this route. So I like the split release here. Honestly, I feel like all three releases could work in this situation if they're ran correctly and if some things go our way. But the split release is one of the best releases you can use when you got a DB who's right in front of your face, head up press, and you think he's going to be physical and shoot. shoot because you split and you could avoid. You split, you could dip the shoulder. Let's watch it again full speed. So he splits, dips the shoulder, and then breaks up on that slant route to create separation. I'll play it again one more time, fellas. So that split release is something you want to use when we got to go up against that head-up press coverage. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave that in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback, and it's always great to hear from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, if you'd like to come out to one of our 6 remaining off-season training camps in Atlanta, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio, Chicago, Illinois, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, or Los Angeles, fellas, we're coming out there for 2 whole days, 4 hours each day. We'll have DBs out there for the wide receivers to work one-on-ones, half-line concepts, and the work. So check out that very first link in the description below, fellas. We'd love to have you out to one of our camps. I'll see you guys next time.